Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Skay, and this is the Zen Blonde podcast. I'm here with my co-host today, John Joseph.
Hi.
John.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing good. So John and I became besties the only way people in LA become friends, which is on TikTok.
Yeah.
And John actually just hit 500,000 followers on TikTok, so quite amazing. I'm almost
crazy.
up to 300K, so collectively.
800K.
I know.
I feel like we could get a lot of pull in the city for that.
I feel like we definitely
Yeah.
need to tell people when we're trying to get, dinner reservations.
Yeah, because people think we're like a couple account, and
Yeah.
then they'll be like, are they going to tell her that he's gay? I think it's good. I think it's good.
Oh my gosh. So guys, today we're going to talk to you. It's going to be like the most comprehensive Pam and Tommy episode you have ever experienced in your life. I know there are others out there, but like the level of deep diving I did for this is actually insane. So just buckle up because it's going to be crazy. But before we get into that, John, I want to ask you, what is your most viral video on TikTok?
My most viral video is 6.6 million views, and it is Debbie Reynolds and Elizabeth Taylor and Eddie Fisher, the whole love triangle drama that happened in the 50s.
You were like an old Hollywood aficionado, so.
It's scandalous. It's so scandalous, and it like paved the way for Pam and Tom and all these other people to like be scandalous in the media.
Okay, do you want to know my most viral video?
I think I know what it is.
So my most viral video is 11 million views, and it's about Blake Lively's nose job. And tonight we are going to her husband Ryan Reynolds' movie premiere with his Q&A. So I hope he's never seen it. I will be thoroughly paranoid and trying to disguise myself.
Well, a few weeks back, we were at an event and Scott Disick was supposed to show up, and I literally pulled Lauren aside because she's made a few videos about him, and I was like, Scott's gonna be here.
And you know what?
Prepare yourself.
I'm glad to know that like I'm not a 19-year-old, like, you know what I mean? Because like I feel like he'd see my video, and even if it had his name on it, like he wouldn't even watch it just because like he'd be looking for like the bikini videos. You know what I mean? So like
allegedly.
with Scott, I feel safe.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, it's everything we say today. Okay, so I just have to say at the top of the episode, everyone that's listening really needs to look into the people who just did the craziest crypto swindling of all time. John, I've been obsessed with this.
I know. Here's my problem. I don't know much about what it's what it's about, but I saw some of the TikToks you posted and I was creeped out.
It is out of control. So I'm gonna tell you guys really quickly so you can all go online and check it out. Maybe we'll do an episode on it. But basically, their names were Ilya Lichtenstein and Heather Morgan, and they stole $77 million worth of Bitcoin back in 2016.
77 million?
Yes. This was the biggest government seizure of like any sort of like funds ever, because by the time the government caught them this year, just like 2022, it was worth like it's been reported anywhere from 3.6 billion to 5 billion. I've seen it different things in articles. So
they look young. How old are they?
God, they must be like our age. They must be like 30. And so anyway, the craziest thing is, I'm going on to their TikTok, and like this comedian Carly Aquino like posted it first and was like, I was expecting Bond supervillains, and like went on their TikTok and like they're so embarrassing. So I went on their TikTok. The girl like is like an amateur rapper, and she's just like Razzle Khan, and I just like, this is just confirmation for me that like wealth is possible for us all.
Oh, for sure, and
through legal means, by the way.
Oh, and I'm irritated because I feel like we got gypped having to work real jobs.
I know.
When we could be
crypto thieves.
Yeah, I still don't even know what crypto is. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know you like buy stocks and things,
nobody
but
knows.
I'm confused. That and what's the new thing that's out?
And NFTs?
NFTs, like Katy Perry, I guess you could buy an NFT at her show. Like if she points to you, can buy, I don't know, like I can buy the point. I don't know. It's all confusing. I just stay on TikTok.
Confusing, and I only invest in it like as if I'm going to Vegas. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, ooh, let's put a little money in that. It's a gamble.
Have you made any money?
I have. I made money on Dogecoin when Elon Musk was promoting it, saying Doge to the moon.
Gosh.
Yeah, I made decent money because I bought it really cheap.
Okay.
But like, it's such a risk. So anyway, let's jump into Pam and Tommy. Now, there's a Hulu series right now. Have you been watching it?
I've watched the first 2 episodes. I got to the part where like the penis was talking.
Okay, so the funny thing about the penis talking is, I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Because it was so disturbing.
Yeah.
It was so like, why is this now becoming a fever dream? What the fuck? So anyway, the reason why they did that is because in Tommy Lee's book, Tommyland,
He wrote a book?
He wrote 2 books, I think. One was called like The Dirt and one was called Tommyland.
Okay.
So in Tommyland, the beginning chapter is him having a conversation with his penis. And so I was like, why the fuck is he talking to his penis on the show? And it all became demystified, but there's so many articles online of like people are disturbed by the penis conversation.
Well, that makes so much. I just
Myself included, by the way.
Well, it was weird. I mean, I mean, it was just weird. I don't know. I wouldn't want to see that, and it wasn't like I'm like not like I don't know. Like I see crazy stuff all the time. It was just
like
weird.
Shows have now been given permission to use prosthetic dicks, and now they're like, we can do this now. We're gonna put 20 dicks in the episode.
Absolutely, and I think eventually it's gonna get to real dicks, and then everyone's gonna like, you're not gonna get the part because your penis isn't big enough.
Oh my god, or it's too big.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is so funny. So basically, like Pamela Anderson grew up like small town Canada, moved to Vancouver.
Okay.
And like her whole background, so she talks about being a victim, and trigger warning, guys, of like tons of sexual abuse as a kid. Like this is a direct quote from her, but basically she was molested from the ages 6 to 10 by a female babysitter, and then again at 12 by the older brother of her then boyfriend, and then just a few years later, her boyfriend in 9th grade decided it'd be funny to gang rape her with 6 friends. Needless to say, I had a hard time trusting humans. I just wanted off this earth, which is just so sad. So I feel like people don't understand that like she not only was this like multi-time victim as a young girl, but then went into adulthood becoming the punchline of the sex tape when like Tommy Lee got to be like a total rock star and like, oh my God, you're a rock
I think
god.
that's part of the problem though with like consent and all these things is, we talked about this yesterday, but like every single person that like comments on all these things, like they've sent a nude before. They've done something, they've sent a sext out or whatever, and then it's like just because someone's famous doesn't mean that they don't deserve their privacy. And she didn't consent to anything that happened in her childhood, obviously. And now you move on to being an adult thinking that she probably felt like I'm past all this, I've made it, I'm a celebrity, I'm good. And now this video gets released without her consent. How triggering, and like how no wonder, because I kind of wondered like where did she go after Baywatch?
And the thing is, if it's 2 consenting adults and nobody's getting harmed, then like...
Absolutely.
If somebody's getting harmed, like in the case of Armie Hammer, I'm like, oh, release it if you need that,
100%. There's a line
that's
crossed.
Adds to the case, but if it's 2 consenting adults and nobody's being harmed, like...
I agree.
Give me a break. So, do you know how Pamela Anderson was discovered?
No.
Okay, so Pamela Anderson was sitting at whatever the British Columbia team was, football game. She somehow gets onto the Jumbotron. This is like old school TikTok fame.
Okay.
She gets on the Jumbotron and everyone's so astounded by her beauty that the crowd goes wild. She gets taken down onto the football field, and she was wearing a shirt from the company Labatt Beer. So she got picked up as a model for the beer company, because it would have just been like a 15 minutes of fame, oh my God, she's so gorgeous, but she was wearing the beer shirt, and then she got a deal with them, and that's what led to like all the Playboy stuff.
And this is how I know pretty privilege is a thing, because I was at a Jonas Brothers concert and went viral, and because I wasn't beautiful, I didn't get a modeling contract.
Can you please tell the people what you went viral for?
So I was at the Jonas Brothers concert, and I'm really having a good time. I was like in the room with me and Joe Jonas, which is like, that's my man, and I was like ready, and so I had a few beers beforehand, and Beyonce comes on, and I'm gay. I was like, yeah, it's Beyonce. So I'm like doing the choreo and stuff. And then the DJ, who's like their like brother-in-law, he like starts filming the audience and he sees me. And then I'm like, oh, a camera? So I was like twerking. I was going crazy. And he is filming me going, oh, or whatever happened. So the whole arena, we're at the Forum. So there's like, 10,000 people. They all start looking at me and cheering me on. Well, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so fun. So I go to get another beer. And I go pee, and I come back, and the whole arena is screaming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Sophie Turner must be here, like Priyanka Chopra, someone's here. So I'm like, who's here? And I'm like looking around, and I get to like where I have to walk down to the security guard, and she goes, who are you? And I go, hi, I'm John, nice to meet you. She goes, who are you? And I go, what do you mean? I go, she goes, they're screaming for you. And I go, there's no way. And she's like, they're screaming, do you mean to escort you to your seat? And I go, girl, no. So this is what went viral. I'm walking down the stairs with my beer. I start noticing everyone's like getting all excited. So I was like, yes. And I'm like telling people to scream, and then I'm like twerking, and I like drop it low. And by the end of the night, there was more videos of me on the geotag for the Forum than there were the Jonas Brothers. And as I'm walking out, security offered to escort us off the property. People were like taking photos with us, asking for selfies. Like I was like a full on.
Did you?
But I didn't get my Pamela Anderson moment because I'm not pretty.
Did you outshine the Jonas Brothers at their own concert?
I mean, people were filming me watching them. I got video sent to me. They were like, you were living your life. And I'm like, Joe Jonas is in front of me. Like it was like I'd seen God.
That is literally.
He sang Camp Rock, and I was ready to go to camp.
Iconic.
Yeah.
John, that is so good. I love that.
Yeah, but next time I'll wear a logo just in case, you know.
That is so iconic.
Yeah. Me and Pam must be the blonde.
So, jumping back into our Tommy Lee,
Yeah.
sir, who has not gone as viral in that way, and in such a cool way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Tommy Lee, drummer for Motley Crue, and he was married to Heather Locklear in the 80s.
Iconic.
But like she like accused him of some like pretty serious things, like abuse, and like he denied it in his memoir. And so when he met with Pam, he was engaged, or he was dating somebody named Bobby Brown, not to be confused with the makeup artist.
Okay.
And do you know how Pam and Tommy got married?
No.
Okay. So they met at New Year. They met on New Year's one year, and like she sent him a drink. He came over with a bottle of champagne.
Okay, this was on the show, right?
Yes, and
okay.
this is true that he licked her from her chin to her forehead, and then she licked the girl next to her, and it turned into like a circle of licking. Like that's showed on the show, which is just disgusting. So I'm imagining you're in a club, you're sweaty, you're wearing makeup, like you're licking somebody's face, like ugh, ugh, right? So gross. So anyway, like I guess like a month. That was the only time they met. Then a month later, Pamela Anderson's like, "Hey, come to my hotel room." He's like, "I'm gonna go all like grungy. I'm not gonna like do myself up for Pam." But he did note that he brushed his teeth.
I'm so happy for him.
Like
what
which
a
I'm
big
like, that's so
accomplishment.
gross. Like you like wanted to be stinky, but like teeth brushed.
Rock stars don't like to brush their teeth.
And he just wanted to like do that to, I guess, make a point. So he went to the pleasure test and he picked up $400 worth of like sex toys and all these things to bring to the hotel. He gets there and she's not there. He finds out she's at a shoot in Mexico, and like the grade A psycho he is, he flies to Mexico.
This is some Kanye level.
No, it's like giving Kanye, which we've been talking about for, oh my God. So anyway, basically then in Mexico, she and him partied together for like 4 days. It was like 96 hours.
This was also like that. I'm just trying to place it together for the show. This is when they were in Mexico, like for that little thing where she was out to dinner with people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so anyway, what ends up happening is, it's like an ecstasy-fueled like weekend, and like they're drinking, and they're ecstasy like obviously makes people feel very euphoric and everything. So anyway, euphoria. So anyway, like 96 hours later, they get married on a beach. She's wearing like a white bikini she brought from Baywatch, and he throws her into the ocean after the wedding.
And I can't even get a call back. I can't even get a text back. Are you serious?
This love bombing BS is crazy though.
Gaslighter.
So, I mean, truly, I think it was very toxic. So anyway, they come back to Malibu and they start renovating their house, which is where a lot of the trouble begins, and we'll get back to that. But a very interesting point in this whole saga is the Baywatch of it all. You watched? Did you watch Baywatch?
No. Okay, so I wasn't a Baywatch watcher, but I watched Xena the Warrior Princess, and it was on the channel USA. Remember, like that network? So they had USA, and they'd play reruns, and I would always get stuck watching Baywatch because it would come on after Xena. So I knew who Pamela Anderson was, but she just wasn't. She wasn't Lucy Lawless, so I didn't really care.
No, I totally get that. I mean, Baywatch was a little bit before my time, but I know it was like such an iconic show, not only in the United States, like internationally. Like I was watching this thing on Baywatch, and like people in Saudi Arabia used or in the Middle East used a satellite to basically get Baywatch aired in their very strict like Middle Eastern countries, and like risked like execution for that.
Well, I remember too, like David Hasselhoff was on Dancing with the Stars, and they like followed him to some country. I don't know if it was like Norway or something.
Probably.
Germany.
Yep.
He plays like the Staples Center out there, Madison Square Garden. Like he plays 20,000 seat theaters singing because of Baywatch. Like he became a huge pop star out there.
He was a huge icon in Germany, and then like Baywatch got him, and like literally, but he has this whole other career and this.
So he was already established out there.
He was like a pop star. They brought him on, but that brought like the international popularity.
Isn't Jackie Chan a pop star too? You never know. That's like people who live in America don't realize that there's such a bigger market in other countries, and like people like who can't even like sell out like a 200-seat theater can go sell out a football stadium in the UK.
100%. Like Baywatch was the first billion viewer show, and it was like the first US show I think in China.
Okay.
So you know who recommended Pam Anderson for Playboy was Hugh Hefner, who called her the DNA of Playboy.
Well, I was just watching reruns of The Girls Next Door, and for Hef's birthday party in Vegas, they went back to they were like at a club, they go back to the hotel room, Pamela Anderson pops out of, I don't know where she was, she had a cake, she was butt naked. This is on The Girls Next Door, and she's like kissing him on the lips and stuff, and it was like such a weird thing to watch, kind of like knowing what she's been through, especially what you told me about her like childhood, and seeing this like kind of like alleged predatory man come and like, I don't know,
and
just
also
weird.
like setting those boundaries when you've been through something like that at such a young age is like.
But didn't he say it was like Marilyn, Anna Nicole Smith, and Pamela that were like the 3 major like bombshells for Playboy, and he got all 3 of them to do, even though Marilyn didn't consent to that, but that's crazy.
Well, so it's just, it's so nuts. And so the guys that created Baywatch, like literally were down and out writers. Their like uncle was involved in Gilligan's Island.
Okay.
They do Baywatch, and they came up with it because they were down and out writers. Their agent was like, what are you guys doing? Like everything you're writing sucks. And then they're on the beach smoking a joint. They see a lifeguard running out to save someone, and then all the cars pull up, and then like the helicopter, and that's how they came up with the idea, like stoned on the beach.
Iconic.
I know, and so they couldn't convince the network that it was going to be great, so they had to film it as a movie first, and the movie did so well that then it became a show.
Okay.
But like they couldn't convince them like this is selling the Southern California like lifestyle, the beach body.
This happened all the time in the 90s. Though so many of your favorite shows from the 90s were like movies first that just got picked up for series.
And nobody like had done like lifeguards before, which is kind of crazy.
That is kind of crazy.
The other interesting thing about Baywatch is like so David Hasselhoff's son was actually almost cast as Leonardo DiCaprio. He actually auditioned for it.
What do you mean for Leonardo DiCaprio?
So Leonardo DiCaprio was almost cast as David Hasselhoff's son on Baywatch. But the reason he wasn't is he's a little too old. So they took a less experienced younger actor who like ended up having his own tumultuous situation with like drugs, and now he's like works in like rehabs and stuff and does great work. But it was really crazy.
Wow.
So Pamela Anderson played CJ on Baywatch, and so when she was trying out for the role, they were like, do you need to put on a bathing suit? Like, we have a bathing suit for you, we just need to see you in a bathing suit. She's like, oh, don't worry, you guys have seen me in Playboy. She starts taking her clothes off. She had a bathing suit on under. But she was just like messing with them. So
I love it.
David Hasselhoff didn't want her in the role because he was like, I don't want this chick that's done Playboy to be in this role. And he turned around really quickly. But one of the interesting things, I was watching this documentary, was that the rate of breast implants after Pamela Anderson appeared on Baywatch went up 500%.
Wow.
And you talk about plastic surgery trends with like, everyone wants like, I feel like Emily Ratajkowski's face right now.
Yeah, and everyone wanted Kylie's lips. Like
and
everyone.
Kim's like butt, you know what I mean? And so
people start trends. Wow, she's a trendsetter.
And the other thing is like, you know, I've talked about this before, but like nose jobs were different in the 90s than they are today. Like everyone wants that little heart-shaped nose, and you know, so you know, if I ever have any work on me, they'd have to like have the golden ratio in front of them because I'd need to know like the trend wasn't going to change.
That's so crazy.
But yeah, so also the other thing that went up was breast implant size went up 40% on average after Baywatch. So like people would see her. I mean, she looked stunning.
She's always been so beautiful.
And she just like had like an amazing, you know, by like beauty standards body. She set the beauty standard.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and she didn't mean to.
You think about it like all of the girls, like I was thinking about this when I was watching The Girls Next Door, but like it always like someone sets a trend and then it kind of defines the moment. And like Pamela Anderson obviously did. And so when The Girls Next Door were on TV, you can see the similarities, and then it moved to the Kardashians, and now it's like, it's just going down its own little like rabbit hole of trends because of, you know, beauty and stuff. It's just weird to think about.
Because I think that in the 90s there was like the ultra thin like heroin chic look, like the Kate Moss, and then there was the Pam Anderson like Baywatch like breast implant sort of body
bombshell.
That was like the beauty standard, and now we're seeing like something that's set more towards like the way the Kardashians look. But it's so interesting to see how like the standard changes, and I think it was like in the past you just needed to be like thin to fit the beauty standard, but now it's like you need to be thin and fit. Like,
well, they want you to be thin, and then they want you to have a big butt, and then they want you to have nice legs, and then they want you to have a big chest. It's like, it's so, I feel so badly for, I mean, as a gay man, I see this where I don't have a six pack, I don't have like big arms and all these things, and like, it like kind of like, sometimes I feel like hinders me in dating, and I feel bad for women because think about like eyebrow trends, and everything changes. Like if you're doing your makeup from 5 years ago, you're not on the trend now, and you're not gonna look as good to people. And it's like, I just feel bad for women because society has made it like you have to keep up with trends to be considered beautiful, and like no one cares about timeless beauty anymore. And it's just so sad.
And this is such a random tangent, but like the moment I realized that like it's all a social construct is like there's a country called Mauritania in Africa where they actually send women to camps to be like force fed to become fat, have more fat on their body because the fatter you are, the more beautiful you are. And there's women in that country who are like, oh my gosh, like having all this extra weight that I'm feeling pressured to put on myself is actually an impediment to me being mobile and like doing the things that I want to do. And I'm so sick of like having all this fat on me, but I want to be like the most popular girl. So it really is just such a social construct, and these shows have such an influence on it. And so much so that Nicole Eggert, who was Pamela Anderson's co-star, so they were filming a scene. Nicole had like reported by some director, like an A cup, right? So they have a holiday weekend. They're going to shoot the rest of the scene. Over the holiday weekend, Nicole got breast implants. So she went from an A to a double D, but they had to finish the scene, and she had completely different boobs because she was competing with Pam.
How do because I don't know. Was she like?
I was curious about the healing situation.
That's like the first thing
I'm like, how long was the holiday weekend? I guess if she wasn't running, but they had just put a jacket over her to film the rest of the scenes.
Oh my gosh.
So what's crazy is the ratings when Pam Anderson went on were at a 3, and they went to a 10 when she was on the show. So
she's not an original member.
She was a huge. I think she came on like some point, like kind of as the show had started, because it had already had like one season.
Okay.
And then basically what happened was whoever was producing it went out of business, and so the uncle of the writers was like, buy it back from that person, and he worked on Gilligan's Island. He's like, this is your Gilligan's Island. They buy it back for $10, and they went with somebody else, and then like the show continued on for like all that time that it continued on.
That's crazy.
So Pam wasn't in that original set, but what's so crazy is after the sex tape, they were like, this is a family show. You need to write her out. So the writers started writing her out, even though they pushed back a lot. Well, the ratings doubled after the sex tape, and they were like, forget the family show angle, like.
When Marilyn's Playboy pictures were sent out, she was a huge star, and these pictures were taken before she was, she
had brown hair, I think,
She had brown hair. She was just trying to get her bills paid, and I think she had a car payment or something like that. And so they were like, the movie studios were freaked out, being like, you're gonna, like, your career's ruined. They were all worried, and it made her an even bigger star. And I remember like when one of the 5 Seconds of Summer's guys, like Newsleak, they said it was the greatest publicity for their band, that they were like the biggest band on the earth during that time. And it's like, because people, as much as they'll be the first person to be like, ew, I don't want to watch her on TV, they'll watch you to hate you. Like, they'll watch you to hate watch the stuff, and they don't realize that these networks and it just feeds more money into their pocket.
I know. It's like when trolls come at me on TikTok, I'm like, thanks for the engagement.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for downloading my podcast just to pick my stuff apart. You've just given me another view. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. It's so funny, like how, unfortunately, like some of the negative like stuff like sucks, but then it's also just like, you're engaging.
Thanks for
so
watching,
it's
because
also
you're not pressing pause. You're just continuing.
You're
to
helping
watch.
me. Like, even though you think you're hurting me with your words, like I'm used to it. So anyway, like basically on the set of Baywatch, like Tommy was like really toxic. Like I'm talking like she had a romantic scene with a co-star. He trashed her trailer. She'd be filming a scene. He'd call her out of the scene, be like, they'd go talk for like hours. And it's like, you can't like do that on a set. So he was really toxic. They had 2 kids together. And at one point he was convicted of felony spousal abuse. It was in 1998. She was holding her son when he was 7 months old, and he pushed her over like so badly that she had like marks on her and like broke her nails.
Oh my gosh.
He went to jail for 6 months. And so she quit Baywatch in 97, and she and Tommy Lee like broke up in 98, literally immediately after that incident when she.
So how long were they together? They started dating when?
God, it was 95.
So they were only together
95,
like 3 years?
98, but then they got back together and apart. Like they got back together like many times. Like they were back and forth like a lot. And Tommy Lee said of her pressing charges, I couldn't understand why Pamela had followed through with pressing charges. She was probably scared and thought I was some crazy, violent monster. She probably thought she was doing the right thing for the kids, and she probably wanted an easy way out of a difficult situation. As much as I love Pamela, she had a problem dealing with things.
No, you know what that is?
It's gaslighting.
That's called number 1, gaslighting, but number 2, like, ladies, anyone who's dating anyone, if you're writing this off as passionate, like people are like sticking up for Kanye right now because they're like, he's going above and beyond and like low-key stalking him because he's passionate about, no, it's creepy, and don't let them like gaslight you into that. She probably just saw this as her way out. When you can't break a cycle, you're like, well, you know what, now there's police involved, I can wipe my hands clean and move on.
And like the thing is, like the cycle of abuse goes from love bombing, like these grand sweeping romantic gestures, to like a period of usually like things are okay, then a big explosion. and then the cycle continues back to the
you
love
live
bombing.
for the highs and the lows, and like you write it off as passion, and it's not passion, it's abuse.
It works on your brain like a slot machine. It's called variable reinforcement. When you never know what you're going to get from someone, it's why we become addicted to slot machines, because we want to hit that big win again. So when you're in an abusive relationship, you want to go back to the love bombing, because the love bombing is such a high, because it's like the biggest romantic gestures ever. And you have this like abusive bad behavior, but you want to go back to the love bombing phase because it feels so good. So it really literally works on your brain and your dopamine the same way a slot machine does, which is why people get so entrapped in these situations, and people from the outside looking in are like, how could they do that to themselves? But it really is like addictive in a way.
And you also humanize, when you're in a situation like that, she's probably humanizing him so much, and when you find out about like childhood traumas or like what they've been through in life, you start writing it off as they're just damaged. Like I see who they, like when you see someone's potential and they're not showing you who they could be, and they're just, you're in love with the idea of them, like red flag number, like leave. Like you're never gonna be able to convince them to be what you want them to be. Absolutely.
Like things should be steady and solid, not like so up and down, you know? And I think that's something like you learn with maturity. Pamela was so young.
How old was she when this was going down?
God, she was like in her 20s, so she was young.
So crazy.
So the other interesting factor, and I think this ties in, there's a bunch of ties to Kim Kardashian, by the way, and the two of them, and really crazy ones that you're gonna learn about soon. So when Pam Anderson got her breast implants removed in 2001, there was an increase in the trend of women removing their breast implants.
Interesting.
And you have to get them replaced every 10 years. So it might have been they became really popular in the early 90s. Now it's the year 2001. It's time to get them replaced.
Yeah.
And people decided to like, you know, not go down that route. But it's kind of like, it reminds me a lot of how Kim Kardashian allegedly got a BBL, like a Brazilian butt lift. And now people are saying that Kim reversed it because she's changed a lot. And you're seeing more people going towards like reversing their BBLs and like not having like such, like,
I guess that's the good thing about plastic surgery, is you can reverse it.
Yes and no. You know what I mean? Like I've seen so many horror stories, and I've done videos on horror stories, and like the people that have commented, I'm like, you know what? It's not. I had a bad Botox experience once, and I'll probably never do it again, because it was like literally like my face just felt heavy, like it was an awful feeling.
Well, it's not natural to like do these things to your body, but like the problem is I don't judge anyone who does it, because think about the society pressure to look a certain way.
Absolutely.
And like I get like I'm gonna get Botox one day, you know what I mean?
I am like, extremely pro plastic surgery. For me personally, I will not do it until I have like the money to go to somebody who's like, again, looking at the golden ratio and like looking at my face and like making subtle tweaks that you're just like, oh, what did she do?
Oh, I'm not going until I can look like Cher.
Cher looks amazing.
I want to look just like Cher or Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda looks amazing.
Literally iconic.
Or like if any of the royals have gotten work done, like I feel like Meghan and Kate like look amazing.
Honestly, I agree.
I can't tell if they have, but that's the point, right?
Yeah, 100%.
If they have.
Yes.
Like, because they just look amazing.
Yes.
Like again, like not harkening back to Blake Lively, whose husband we're going to see tonight, and his movie premiere, but you know, Blake Lively's work was kind of amazing. And I'm a big fan of it, which is what I said in the video. Blake, if you're listening, love you, mean it. No,
like, I mean, is that the Zen blonde?
The thing is, I admire her work. If I could find out who her doctor was, I'd be like, he'd be added to my list.
No, for sure.
I
it's
think
like
she
I'm
looks
not
amazing.
judging. I'm idolizing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remove the stigma, because there shouldn't be one.
There should be no stigma about feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, and whatever you want to do with your body. I have lip filler, and I love it. I love it.
I want my top lip.
It really hurt, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? The thing is, there's lidocaine in it, so after a few minutes, it like goes numb, and it's just amazing. So anyway, you know, the one good thing that came out of not Playboy, the one good thing that came out of Baywatch is that, okay, this is a crazy story, but like literally this 8-year-old saw his 4-year-old brother drowning in the pool. He jumps in, he saves his brother, he gives him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. They asked him where he learned it. He learned it on Baywatch. So he saved his brother, which is amazing. Another crazy fact about Tommy Lee, he and Pam shared a tattoo needle, and he gave her Hep C. It took her hundreds of thousands of dollars to cure. She's cured.
I've heard about this. Okay, so that's how she got it.
This man just like left her with so many issues. So anyway, like diving back into like when they were renovating their home, just imagining them as newlyweds, now that you guys know the Baywatch info and like all the info. So have you heard about the man who was their electrician?
I obviously have watched the show, so you know, Seth Rogen killing it.
Seth Rogen is amazing for that character.
He's amazing.
And the fact that like, okay, so this guy now is like literally, he's a foggy 57-year-old. This was written in 2014. It's from a Rolling Stones article, which is a great article, the Rolling Stones article on Rand Gautier. But it says he's now a foggy 57-year-old who still works as an electrician and grows marijuana in his garage outside his Santa Rosa, California home. So anyway.
Did he make a lot of money from this? Like, is he set for life?
No, he made like nothing.
It's so weird because like karmically, I mean, I don't want to give anything away, so I'll wait till.
No, you can.
No, I just, obviously he's the person that like sold the tape, right?
Yeah.
So it's like karmically, I'm like, okay, like you were just trying to get back at Tommy Lee, and the innocent bystander in all this was Pam, and I don't like that you did that to her.
See, and that's what upsets me.
Yeah.
Is like, I think she became a punchline and it just elevated Tommy Lee, which he wanted to embarrass Tommy Lee. And that was his goal, because what happened was when they were renovating there, and if you guys have watched the show, like the show's pretty accurate in what Rand's description of what happened when he was working as an electrician at the house was, but essentially like he did all this work and Tommy Lee and Pam were drinking martinis and smoking weed before 11 a.m. And like he sees Tommy Lee, who's like, you know, with this gorgeous woman, right? And then being a total jerk to him, having him move wires at like on his crazy whims, right? Like, so he might have set up a whole thing over here and the next day he wants it over there. And even though like many discussions had gone on and it had been finalized. So things kept on getting changed up. He ends up abruptly firing that team and then owed them $20,000. So Rand realized he left tools at Tommy Lee's house. He left like a bunch of electrical tools.
But didn't he try to get them like the day that he left and like Tommy said no?
Well, he drove back.
Okay.
Tommy Lee put a shotgun in his face and told him, get the fuck off my property. And basically, like, Rand was like, I've never been popular with people, but I've never had a gun pointed at me. It screwed with my head. And Rand actually had an interesting upbringing. He grew up in Toluca Lake, across the street from Dick Van Dyke.
And you know, my grandpa's the reason Dick Van Dyke is famous.
No way.
Allegedly.
Wait, tell me.
So my grandpa.
Yeah.
My grandpa lived in like Indiana. Oh no, he went to Notre Dame, I think, is where he went. And so he was trying to raise every year his fraternity would raise money for something. And the year that my grandpa had to raise money was to get this unknown actor a plane ticket to go do a screen test in Hollywood. And that actor just so happened to be Dick Van Dyke.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. So if you're watching Dick Van Dyke, you're welcome.
Dick Van Dyke's ghost, like.
He's alive.
Oh, is he? Whoops.
He's very much alive.
Oh my God, how awkward. Sorry for like, you know, it's so funny. I was in Ireland once and like there was this rumor around town that this woman had like passed away, and like in Ireland everyone's like, oh, did you hear Mary Brown passed away? Oh, did you hear Mary Brown? She passed away, so sad. Well, I go into the bar that night and Mary Brown's there looking disgruntled. And like, it's because there's this rumor about her that she like, I don't know if her name was Mary Brown, but like I was literally like cackling.
That's
like not
iconic.
like in her, like I feel bad for, it was just such a funny situation to have that rumor about you. And not really because like she was old, but she wasn't that old. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
like,
when I was in high school, like the trend was if like you were going on a weekend trip without your phone, one of your friends would start a rumor that you died to see what people would say about you. This was like an ongoing thing happening at my high school.
God.
And one, like the person that started this trend shows up to school like on a Monday, and after everyone had been like, rest in peace to my best friend, like, and he like was laughing and everyone was really mad at him because you don't do that to people. Like it's so wrong.
No.
But this is what was happening at my high school.
that is terrible.
Yeah.
That is terrible. Oh, dang, did we just give a bunch of kids a new idea? I hope not.
Do not do that.
So anyway, Rand performed as a porn star named Austin Mork in 75 plus porn movies. His father was Dick Gautier, and he was an actor on Get Smart, Bye Bye Birdie on Broadway. And he wanted to detach from his father. He was like just like a very insecure dude. He lost his virginity to a hooker at 18 in Vegas. And so anyway, after all this happened, he was literally staking out Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's house for an entire summer.
And this is just to get his tools back.
No, this was to steal the safe. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. There was a safe in their garage, and he wanted to steal it. So he spent an entire summer, and it wasn't unusual for there to be like cars outside, because like photographers and stuff like that.
And he was in a bunch of debt too. Like he could barely afford to even be doing this job to begin with, and this was going to be life-changing for him. So then Tommy did this, and so he's just trying to get his revenge.
Absolutely. So
And did he know there was a tape in there?
he didn't know what was in there. So he knew that there was potentially, I think, guns in the safe, but he knew that obviously it's a safe of a rock star's home. It's going to be good stuff. So basically, like, he's watching and watching and watching, and in early October, Pamela Anderson threw Tommy Lee his birthday party, and it was apparently his 33rd birthday party at a ranch down the road featuring carnival rides, tigers, sword swallowers, a death metal band from Sweden, and $5,000 worth of drugs. So,
You know?
a few days after Halloween, Rand Gauthier is ready to carry out his plan. He throws a Tibetan yak fur like skin over his shoulders.
Oh, because to look like the dog.
To look like their sheepdog. He
That's terrifying.
attaches a dolly to him. Like, you know, like those little dollies?
Yes.
He goes into their garage and he claims that he acted alone getting the 600-pound safe out of the house. When he's going down the driveway, the metal in the safe triggered their gate and it opened. But again, his friends said that one other person definitely knew he was doing this, but his friends said he told a different story back in the day. Like that was mentioned in the article. So I think, you know, I think that he potentially had somebody working with him.
And he's just a really good person to not out that.
Yeah, no, and so...
I mean, not a good person because he's doing what... I mean, it's so layered. It's like, I'm mad. Obviously, like I said, we did a Pam, but then it's like, you were just trying to get your revenge to Tommy.
Sucked, and then Pamela Anderson was collateral damage, and like, I feel bad for Pam. So he opens the safe with this like saw that he borrows, and he found a gold and diamond Cartier watch, family photos, Rolex, gold and emerald cufflinks, ruby and diamond cross, the white bikini that she got married in, and a Hi8 sex tape. And now the Hi8 tape, he had no idea what was on it. It was like 57 minutes of footage.
Are you saying Hi8?
It's called, is it Hi8?
Is it like
It's Hi8.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's spelled like this.
Oh, I thought you were like, it was at the Hyatt.
No,
like,
no. Oh my God.
Yes,
Is there the
Get
Hyatt? Like, yeah, their honeymoon at the Hyatt. No, they were on a boat.
Okay. Oh, I know. I've
yeah,
watched
because
it.
you've seen it. Okay, wait. Can you tell us how you saw the tape?
So I am a nosy child, and I just like, I didn't trust. I was at someone's house. I'm not gonna like, because they're still in my life, but I just didn't really trust them. And I'm like, maybe like, I'm a young kid. Like I'm young, and I'm snooping around because I just was like sketched out by this person, and I stumble upon like this like DVD that had Pamela Anderson on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the girl that plays after Xena, you know? So I go to put the tape in, and I got to see the girl that played after Xena. Like, I got to really see everything. And obviously, like, I've like known I'm gay my entire life. So I was like, but I remember just like, there was just so much, it was a lot of sensory overload.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just such a big, like I just remember being like, wow. Because it was like the first celebrity sex tape, right? Like not the first one, there's multiple, but like the first one that really got big.
Yeah.
And it's just funny to me that like this person, of course, bought that and had it in their house. Like a lot of Americans had that. And it was like a staple in their home. I know it's like sick to say, but it's like Playboy and all these things. Like people had that DVD, and I watched it. I watched the whole thing. I was like panicked.
That is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that, you know, it was really crazy how it was distributed, because basically what happened was, so basically this guy, Rand Gauthier, he was in the porn world.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to this guy, his name's Milty, Uncle Milty Ingley. He was like in the porn world. He had the
Is this
thing,
from his connection from when he was a porn star?
yeah,
Okay.
and so he had the thing where he could play the Hi8 tape, and they were like, oh my God, jackpot, right? So then they're figuring out how to distribute it. They approached disgusting Ron Jeremy. He says no. Because the thing is, you needed their consent to release the tape.
okay.
So then they were trying to they got money from somebody from the Colombo family. His last name was like Periano, who's like a mobster. And basically like he gave them $50,000 to help them distribute and get things online and stuff. So Milty basically cut Rand out of like everything. He had the $50,000. He was using it like in different ways, but they had basically you would write to this, you would send a check to this Canadian company, and then the money was going into a bank account in Amsterdam. But again, Rand didn't even get a cut out of it.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was like, hey, I'm selling these for $1.75, like 175 bucks out of my car, Rand. You should start doing that, because I don't know if Milty's gonna like honor his promise. So anyway, the whole thing like went down, and basically like, you know, Milty ran off, and he didn't come back into LA until like the guy like Periano had passed away, but like he never got paid back, Periano, and the Rand had to work for Periano to pay him back. So he sat him down one time, had dinner with him, was giving him like Everclear cherries and getting him really drunk to get the truth out of him. And Rand's like, I don't have any like hidden money here. I truly don't, and I have nothing to give you. So it was just a crazy situation. Now, the tape took 2 years to go from bootleg to viral, but it made $77 million reported in 12 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so here's where it gets really juicy. So basically what ended up happening was, first of all, Tommy Lee hired a PI to try to get the tape back, Anthony Pellicano, and he was crazy and ended up being put in prison for wire fraud and identity theft after.
Okay.
Like, so he had his own level of crazy. Then the Motley Crue head of security was a former Hell's Angel. So then they had the biker gang coming after them at these porn studios. Like, Rand had all these people chasing after him. And you can see that on the show. And then Tommy Lee even tried to get his porn star friends to seduce the tape out of Rand. So they were trying everything to get the tape out of him. And on March 29th, 96, they filed a $10 million lawsuit against everyone they thought might have a copy, including Penthouse, Ingley, Gautier, Tompkins, Sardell, and Swing. And the LA judge refused to grant Lee's permanent injunction against Penthouse, largely because it is essentially unheard of for a court to bar a media outlet from publishing something before it has done so. So they hadn't published anything, but they couldn't sue them for having suspicion that they had something. So anyway, Penthouse ended up publishing like these Polaroids and also like the transcripts of the tape. They couldn't put stills from the tape because they didn't have the rights, but what ends up happening is they ended up like having this guy who they signed off their rights to. Now here's where it's really juicy. They claim, the tape was stolen, obviously. They claim like to be like angry about it, and like even like if they saw it in like a movie store that they were going to pick up a movie, they'd lose their shit, right? They gave over the consent and the rights to this guy. His last name was like Rakovsky, and he was able to distribute it online. So he had this like Club Love site online, and that's where he started distributing it. But Pam and Tommy signed off on that. So people think that on the back end they made money because they were basically just like, you know what, it's out there, it's going to be out there, we might as well monetize it.
Which is what I would do.
And we're gonna do that on the back end, which is like the smoking gun that they signed over these rights, so this guy could do that. But on the front end, we're gonna still appear pissed. Which they probably were, but they probably
it's one of
still
those
wanted
situations.
to monetize.
What are you gonna do? I mean, you're it's out there. It's kind of like I obviously don't know the ins and outs of the Kim Kardashian tape, but if it's out there and you're going to be embarrassed by it, you can still be embarrassed, but you might as well get your coin.
And what's so interesting about this, and tying it back to Kim K, another parallel, so Rakovsky does the whole like online deal, but then he's like, we need to get this on VHS. So he partners with a guy named Stephen Hirsch, who's the owner of Vivid Entertainment. Stephen Hirsch is the one that puts everything on VHS, so you can buy Pam and Tommy in a sex toy store, whatever.
And they did Kim K, they did Paris Hilton.
And Stephen Hirsch brokered Kim K's deal.
Yep.
And
so do you think that they really broke a deal, or do you think that it really got leaked and then like?
I think it got leaked, and then they said we need to like.
Okay, and then Kris just became Kris Jenner.
Oh,
I'm talking about that. Yeah, do you think Kim like sold that for fame, or do you think that it got leaked?
There are allegations that she had. Again, this is very much allegations from like crazy days and nights, so take it with a grain of salt. But there were allegations that when Kim K was Brandy and her mom's closet organizer, she owed them $120K because she had a card that was to be used for business. She rang up $120K, and that's how they were going to pay her back. Was doing that thing with Ray J, and that's how they got the money. And it was totally planned.
I don't want to like bring up anything too graphic, but did you hear about like how that like sex tape almost never even became a thing because of like a certain scene that was in there?
I heard about a cut scene.
Yeah.
Let's just say it has to do with a shower.
Yep.
And like a specific
the
kind
people
of shower.
at Vivid were like, you can't put this out.
Oh
like
my
no
God.
one's gonna watch this, and they cut that out.
It's just, you wonder if it's like a conspiracy theory and like fact or fiction. Like,
see, here's where I think it might not be, and like regardless, I'm not king shaming at all.
Yeah.
Kim has said that she was on ecstasy during that filming, just like she was on ecstasy when she
Just
got
like
married the first
Pam.
time. Exactly. And I just think that like when you're in the moment of something like that, and you're like, because your whole body's like tingling and feeling good, I think that if that did happen, it just was like a heat of the moment thing. I don't think like Kim like is
like
into that. Like I said, there's nothing like not
and
king
even if
shaming.
she was, we wouldn't care.
It's just they just said it like money wise, we can't have this out.
Two consenting adults, John and I have no dog in the fight.
No.
However,
no, when it's not consenting though, we're coming after you.
We totally are. So Stephen Hirsch does this whole thing, and does the whole like sex tape. So it's just a crazy situation. And yeah, I mean, Rand didn't make any money. I think on the back end, maybe Pam and Tommy made money. But they had two kids together, Dylan and...
so they still have to see each other all the time, obviously, because even when like my parents were divorced, they didn't like each other. They still had to see each other.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, they definitely do. And I mean, Pamela Anderson got back together with him in like 2010, and they got back together a few times, moved back the kids back in. But then you had Brandon and Dylan Lee, and Brandon was on The Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Brandon and him had a
Iconic.
major altercation where he posted this whole thing on Father's Day of 2018.
Oh, I love when children of celebrities expose their parents.
Well, so this is Tommy Lee's whole post. My father taught me to respect everyone and everything and to take care of those that that I loved. He wrote, he taught me to appreciate my possessions and to be grateful for the things I was given. When I had my first child, I wanted to instill the same virtues into him. Sometimes I feel like I failed as a father because my kids don't know the value of things. If they break something, they don't care because they know they'll just get a new one. If they hurt someone, they don't care because so many people tell them it's okay. I never wanted this for my kids. I know I'm not fully to blame because their mom has a lot to do with it, enabling bad behavior and buying them things when they weren't good. But I guess I hoped at the end of the day, they would end up kind. I love them dearly, don't get me wrong, but man, sometimes it's really tough to watch your kids grow up without those morals. Nothing can really prepare you for fatherhood. I love my boys, but they can be expletives too. And that's the truth. So
wait, is this Tommy Lee to his son?
That's Tommy Lee on Father's Day to his son.
That his son exposed him.
But then his son posted a photo of him and he'd knocked out his dad and told everyone it was an intervention gone wrong and his dad was just like lashing out. So that all unfolded and
no wonder Brittany Ferlin is like, don't bring up my family. Don't bring up my family.
Oh well, we'll get into her. Because she's interesting. The whole that's the new drama that
I can't. Okay, I will get back to it.
Okay,
so
this was
heated.
Pamela's response, and then I want to jump into Brittany because I mean you know a lot about that too.
Go back to mine.
So basically, Pamela on Tommy in 2018 on her blog. For the record, I've made no comment anywhere to anyone before this. Beware of tabloid gossip. This is a matter of life and death. I am surreally calm. I feel justice is at work. I'm not frantic as reported, devastated. I'm hopeful. This is not new to us. I'm staying in France for the moment. I have complete faith in Brandon and his team to resolve this unfortunate and sad situation regarding his father. I pray Tommy gets the help he needs. His actions are desperate and humiliating. He is a disaster spinning out of control and he is not acting like a father, but this is nothing new. My sons have made every attempt to help him in recent months, staying with him to make sure he's okay. Just by being present with him, they were hoping he'd feel loved and act differently. I feared things might escalate, but he knew this might be what it took to heal old wounds. Him blaming his son for anything is delusional. We have all tried to protect him and help him for too long, hoping he'd look after himself better. I do not like to comment about this. I feel like it is necessary because of Tommy's Trump style. No thought out rampage on Twitter and IG. This matter is ideally between just a father and a son, and rehab if the stars align. I will never talk to Tommy again before he's sober and in his right mind. Though he's made attempts to contact me, I've blocked him. It is impossible to reason with this crazy. I'm sure the world can see the truth. I stand behind my son who's acted out of self-defense and was scared for his life. Nobody understands the lifetime of disappointments this man has brought our family. Consistently the center of sadness, drama, and confusion. Jealous of his son's talent and beauty from the day they were born. He is sick, the definition of a narcissist sociopath. His fiancée keeps him drunk. This is what he wants, someone to behave badly with. It's terrible. And unfortunately, he's made this private matter very public. I've always tried to set the record straight, trying to paint him as not the bad guy, just one who is human and made mistakes. He still cannot handle the guilt about his abusive behavior and has never taken responsibility for what he has done. Let's hope this will be his saving grace. I can only pray for him and protect my sons, who also fiercely protect me. Sorry, this is so long, you guys.
Oh no, it's
Brandon has asked me to stay in France and not come home right now. He's happy and content that I'm safe and loved where I am at. He has invaluable support and has everything under control. His heart amazes me. He still does not want to see his dad in jail. He just wants him to get sober. He was putting together an intervention along with his friends and people Tommy worked with and admired so that whatever is left of life can be healthy and peaceful. And maybe he will be a healthy part of their lives one day, maybe a positive part of our future grandkids' lives. Brandon has risked everything to save his father. He takes his career very seriously. He does not touch drugs or alcohol. He understands his genetics and is an example to many. He's a tremendous talent that will show the world. But he has to put all on hold for dealing with his family. His brother and our family is his priority. Believe me, he punched him in the nose for all of us who he's hurt. Now Tommy feels humiliated and is attempting to destroy my own son. This is the devil, the disease of alcoholism.
It's so sad because like addiction is real and it's such you're not in your right mind. I have family members who obviously have dealt with addiction and deal with addiction, and the problem is you have to be able to separate the addict from the person, like, you know what I mean, because they're not the person that they're there, but this addiction side of things can bring out sometimes worse qualities in people, and for her to put that out is just so telling, and to make it so public, and it's just sad because it's like, she even said he's a great person that's made mistakes. That goes back to what I was saying earlier of like why she took this opportunity when the cops got involved to get out, because she sees the human side of him. She sees the person beyond the addiction. And that's when you love unconditionally, that's what you do. You look past the addiction, you look past the things that they're dealing with, because you're like, they're a great person at heart or whatever it is. But at the same time, once it's affecting everyone around you, and once it's a burden to everyone around you and people's safety is in jeopardy, it's time to back away. And like sometimes, like they say, like tough love is just not
and also
communicating at all.
Brandon being so young and trying to do stuff for himself and like putting his life on hold, and like it's just the whole thing is sad. And it sounds like it was a consistent theme throughout Brandon's life, where it was these explosive situations. And thankfully, like, so what ended up, the happy ending to that story is like in 2020, there's a picture of them hugging, and like he said like, I love you, Dad, and I love you, son, on Instagram. So like I think there is a happy ending to the story, and that makes me happy because, you know, addiction can really bring out the monsters in people. And so it's like, that's why this is such a complex like family situation where it's like Tommy Lee's not the devil, but he's kind of an asshole.
No, but for some people, like it's always that thing of like you're not necessarily the bad guy, but you're a bad guy in someone's story. And Tommy has his own issues, and that's why he has his addiction and stuff, and like wherever that's stemming from, obviously, I think we can all sympathize with someone who has an addiction. But at the end of the day, when it's affecting his children and it's affecting his family life, it's hard to say that like he's not, like to them he probably has had aspects of being the devil. Like that's what happens. You just like you're the bad guy in someone's story, and he's just been the bad guy in multiple people's stories because of his out of control addiction.
And even like the electrician and not being accountable and paying people, like that's an awful thing to do, as is like breaking into somebody's home and stealing to make reparations, you know.
That's why it's so bad. It's like, am I happy that you're getting back at him? And then it's like, no, because what happened to Pamela was just so wrong.
It was. And then it's also like, you think about him, he was traumatized having that gun in his face.
How terrifying.
So, okay, I want you to tell me, because I feel like you know about the Brittany Furlan stuff versus Teffy. So, by the way, guys, so Brittany Furlan was a Vine star who's now on TikTok, and Teffy is like a TikTok star.
I am so irritated.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Oh, and Brittany Furlan's married to Tommy Lee. Sorry.
If you haven't watched either of our content, I feel like me, you, Teffy, and like all these, you know, we do pop culture stories, we do deep dives, we talk about, like, for me, I love talking about old Hollywood, but you know, we've all kind of shared the same stories, whether it be the Sex and the City stuff or, you know, Paris, Brittany, and Lindsay, like all of this stuff. We've all talked about it. And Teffy was just talking about what we're doing right now. We're just breaking down the story of what happened based on the public's perspective. But what you and Teffy have done is you guys have gone behind the scenes and talked about the dynamics of everything, right? And so Brittany, I guess, followed Teffy because she liked her content, and then Teffy did a deep dive on Pam and Tom. And something that I will say to like stick up for Teffy is like my content specifically mostly throwback, because I never want people to be triggered. Like if I bring up Brittany or Christina Aguilera or any of these stars, I never want them to be triggered about what I'm talking about. So I'm like, okay, if it's 20 years ago and you maybe have like a diva moment, you're probably past it. You know what I mean? Especially in this world of social media. Like you're definitely moved on from it, I'm hoping. So Teffy was just talking about a story that happened in the 90s. And Brittany decided, I guess, to like DM her or something, and like it just turned into this whole thing, and then it became this like public spat where like Brittany was like, it's my family, and you share these stories and there's real people behind them, and it's like, okay, why are you offended? You weren't even a part of it. And I get you want to stick up for people, but at the same time, I've made mistakes in my life, you've made mistakes in your life, we've all made mistakes. You can still go back and talk about those things and be like, hey, yeah, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that.
And I can almost imagine that being the second woman after
Pamela,
they were an iconic couple. Yeah. Like good or bad, they were iconic. And so imagine you marry someone and then there's a show about like his name with his ex's name. Like I would kind of be losing my shit.
My friend went through this.
Hate it.
I'm not going to give the name because it'll give it away, but my friend dated this person.
Yeah.
After they broke up, this guy ended up dating the biggest pop star in the world at the time. And it was everywhere. It was this like supermarket, and it was the gas. It was everywhere with like pictures of this couple. And it was triggering, you know what I mean? So I'm sure in Britney's defense, when they got together, it was kind of iconic. Like everyone was like hyping them up and like thought it was like super cool that like she was with Tommy Lee, and like it was shocking. I kind of in my opinion, like revived her in a way, because like Vine died, and obviously Britney's been around and stuff, but I feel like it kind of put her back in the spotlight, because there's ebbs and flows, and you're gonna have moments where you're super relevant and there's not not so relevant,
And
right?
everyone thought TikTok was gonna like end like Vine did.
100%. And so it's just funny to see her, and I get it. She's just protecting her. I guess I get the part of her like wanting to defend her man because she only knows her man as the person she knows from the time that she's been with him.
And he's so like now. I mean, I don't think obviously like with what Pamela said, he obviously wasn't sober the whole relationship, but he's sober now. Like
And there's a big age difference. And
there is.
I know for a fact that I'm sure if I dated, I don't care if it's like Liam Hemsworth or like if they had like a substance
just a wish list
or maybe someone older, but like you kind of like see the age difference, and I'm sure she's like, how can I tell this grown ass man to stop drinking?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think Britney's the bad guy either. I just think the way she responded to Teffy was wrong because Teffy's doing what you followed her for.
Yep, exactly.
You followed her for these deep dives.
And everyone wants to be like, kept precious, and like I do. Listen, Paris Hilton follows me and I'll never say anything bad about her.
Yeah,
I just like, I can't do it. Like, like I don't,
It's why I won't
too
talk about
awkward.
influencers
I mean,
ever.
geez, like we're going to Ryan Reynolds' thing tonight. And I'm like, I hope he didn't see the video.
But to add to that, my 2 most viral videos from last year were both of their celebrity relationship timelines,
my
and
God.
your biggest thing was them too. So it's like, maybe they have seen
I
it.
like, honestly, I'm like 11 million people. Like, it's funny because like.
It's 12, but I'm not counting.
It's just crazy. So, okay, so the last thing I have to say is like Pamela and Tommy, like I was like looking into their takes on this, and Lily James, who played Pamela, who like literally looked insane.
I am so grateful that we're at a place with prosthetics that we can, like when I watched Bombshell, is that what it's called, with like the people from Fox News?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the prosthetics they used to make sure everyone looked like the people they were playing, it's incredible. And I'm blown away by her acting, number one. I think Lily James, that's her name, right?
Yeah.
Is incredible. Like, I've loved her since Cinderella.
And she's British.
And she's beautiful, and she plays Pamela so well. Like and you're like, oh my God, wait, is that Pamela? Like it's one of those things where you're like kind of like taken back for a second, where you're like, oh my gosh, you do this so perfect.
Yeah. No, she's incredible, and she really transformed. And even Sebastian Stan, who plays Tommy, like I didn't even realize it was him.
They're incredible.
Like, 'cause he was on Gossip Girl. He played that kind of jerky guy. I always thought he was cute.
Oh, he's handsome.
I always thought he was cute. But anyway, I mean, it's just crazy. So basically, Pamela Anderson, like her friend came forward and was like, she will never, ever, ever watch it, not even the trailer. And then when Lily James reached out to her, it just wasn't happening. So, I mean, there was a lot of conversations about consent with this, and like
with the series?
Yeah, with the series. And what's really interesting is the director, Lake Bell, had her nudes leaked. Remember back in the day, it was like, what was it, 2014, when all those celebrities, Vanessa Hudgens, everyone had their nudes taken off the cloud? Lake Bell, who is an actor and director, was one of the people, and so she understood from a personal experience as she was making this what Pamela must have felt like, and she felt protective over Pamela when she was making this, but it's crazy. I mean, the other interesting tie-in regarding sex tape culture, Pamela Anderson married Rick Solomon, who did Paris Hilton's sex tape twice, just like she married Tommy Lee twice. So it's interesting, the Paris, Kim, and Pamela like tie-ins like are very, very interesting.
I have people that I know that are like friends with Rick.
No way.
So you've seen it every once in a while, I'll like randomly just be like, Rick's a rat.
Oh,
the
my
rat ears on him, because I'm
God.
like, it's wrong what he did. Like, here's the thing, and what really
so
upsets
young.
me is like, these women are so young, and I know I'm a hopeless romantic. Like, you're hoping that the person you're with is just gonna protect you at all costs, and like you looking for especially when you go through like childhood trauma of like sexual abuse. When you're looking for a partner, it's not just I'm looking for my companion. You're looking for that protection, and so these women, I'm sure when these cameras were brought out, we're like, oh my gosh, he loves me. Like, this will never go anywhere. You do things blindly when you love someone.
You don't do it thinking it's gonna get out.
No, and then it does get out, and then people are like, well, she's famous. She shouldn't have done it in the first place. It's like, you know what? I'd like your mom to go through your phone.
Yeah.
I'd like your mom to go through your
that's the
messages
thing. I'm
and
like,
see what
everyone's so judgmental, but it's like, okay, I guarantee like 95% of the population is sent a nude.
For sure. 100%.
To their boyfriend or something?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like very common.
Absolutely.
Very common.
And it's just wrong.
Most people just aren't under the scrutiny, and it's like everyone's first to point the finger, but if it was them, like,
But isn't that funny though? It's like, I don't think anyone should be defined by their mistakes or anything. I think that like if you can really have growth though, like you can't just be like, I'm not that person, then go do it again. Like,
some performative BS.
Yes, when you're really working through your stuff. So, but it's just funny to me because it's like you felt so, and then maybe, I guess Tom obviously didn't leak this, but it's like you felt so jaded by what happened to you, and then you're gonna go turn around and marry Rick Solomon, who did the same exact thing except for he did it himself, I think, right? Allegedly, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole like background there, but I think that he released it like from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But again, I have to look more into that.
I love that video because the whole time Paris is like, ew. Like he'd ask her and she's like, ew.
See, I have never seen any of them. I haven't seen Kim's, I haven't seen Paris, I haven't seen Pamela's. So I know like with Pam and Tommy, it was like they were just in love. But they were
and Wendy Williams stuck up for them. And I was watching her show one day and she was like, can we cut the BS? She was like, it was filled with love. She was like, there was so much love with that tape. You watch them and they just looked like a couple in love. And I think that's why it was such a big hit. On top of it being Baywatch, is people like seeing real love. And whether it was toxic love or whatever, like there was passion in that relationship and it, I guess, translated over well on the camera.
The electrician said, it was cute. They're in love and a couple and they're just having fun with each other and I think that's great. I'm jealous. I wish I had something like that.
Mood,
and
same.
I think that's like the truth. Well, John just hit 500K on TikTok and I actually have a little surprise for John. We have our we're calling her our COO of the pod to bring this out.
What is going on?
And it's a little surprise just to congratulate John on 500K before we wrap up this episode.
What is going on? Don't make me cry.
Are you ready?
Congrats on 500K,
oh
boo.
my gosh.
We got you a little smash cake so that you can intentionally break a heart.
I needed to break a heart. You're so sweet.
And I'm just so happy for you, so proud of
you.
you. You're killing it. You get to smash this.
I'm so excited.
Whatever you want. You don't have to do it on air.
Okay, I don't want to get the studio dirty.
No, we will not. But anyway, just congratulations.
I love you.
On your 500K.
And also, you're almost at 300K.
I know.
So I just congratulate. I'm so proud of what you've built. I know it's like so like cheesy, but like this woman is my best friend, but she's also just like the biggest hustler and businesswoman, and like I just adore you.
I adore you too. So tell everyone where they can find you.
It's John Joseph on TikTok. It's literally ITS John Joseph. I'm not just saying like John Joseph. It's John Joseph and then John Joseph Music on Instagram.
And probably with me.
Yes, always with the Zen Blonde.
And go follow my boy. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in and we'll see you next time.